Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesh Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त राम हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण। Thank you all of you for coming to our Sunday Gita class. Am I on mute? He's on mute. Whatever. You are audible. Okay, thank you. So you're sharing screen? Yes. Where's the machine? You're sharing or I should share?
No, actually, if you share through Zoom, it will be visible here.
Okay, this is on Zoom. What is on Zoom?
This is on my phone is on Zoom. If you share,
okay.
It will be visible.
Just a minute. Did you discuss anything before? Okay. So can we just have a couple of points from last time before we move ahead? Mm, Yes. Yes. Any point? We discussed at length last time about yagya. How many of you were there last time? Raise your hand. Okay.
So we had talked about that how real yajna is doing austerity for Krishna. That was one of the points that we had talked about. And like devotees, they do not see like a problem, right? They see it as an opportunity to see Krishna.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, real yajna means performing sacrifices for Krishna. Okay. Anything else?
Whatever instrument we use for Krishna consciousness, it's become a spirit.
Spiritual. Yes, very good. Whatever. Yeah.
And then we will not be victimized by those things.
Yes. Yes. Very good. So whatever instruments we use in service to Krishna, that also becomes spiritual. And why is it important that we use things we have in our possession in service to Krishna? Just so that we don't get victimized by material energy. For example, actually the positions are called in Sanskrit as dravya. This is the word used for positions or material elements. So the dravya, anything which is close to us has influence on us. For example, you can have a lot of gadgets around you, or you can have your, say, pen. So if you are always having a pen in your pocket, sometimes you see the pen and you might write something. But if you never had a pen, you would have never written, for example. Or if you're sometimes if you're surrounded by books, you also get the tendency to study something at least. isn't it? So once Indra, he was in his heavenly abode, and then he saw a Brahmana was performing severe austerities. So Indra got scared that probably Brahmana wants to occupy his position in the heavenly kingdom. He wants to become the next Indra. That was Indra's fear. But actually, Brahmana had no such. So Indra did something very simple. He just went to the Brahmana. He came to this world, went to the Brahmana and gave him a sword. He said, "My dear Brahmana, please keep the sword with you, and I'll just have something to attend to, and I'll be back." Brahmana is very helpful in nature, so he wanted to help out. He said, "No problem, I can take care of the sword." And as Brahmana kept the sword, daily routine, Brahmana would get up early in the morning. He would pluck flowers for worship of the Lord. He would take fruits from the trees for the worship, mm, and he would do perform yajna. He would offer ghee. He would offer grains, everything in the sacrifice. This was his daily routine. Daily he would chant the Vedic hymns. So now when Indra gave him the sword, asking him to take care of the sword, now he kept the sword with him. But now that he kept the sword with him, whatever he would do daily on a daily basis, waking up in the morning, taking bath, plucking flowers, fruits from the trees, performing yajna, chanting the Vedic hymns, he would always do it with the sword because Indra said, "Dude, please take care of it until he returns." So now what happened? Daily in the beginning, he would take the sword with him and he would use his hands to pluck the flowers and the fruits. And just because he had the sword with him, it had some sort of an influence. So what he used to do with his hands plucking of flowers, now he took out his sword and he would pluck the flowers. He would take out the fruits. Though there was no need of using a sharp object to do it. He would use the sword to put ghee into the fire, grains into the fire, and always he would walk around with the sword. Now you can just imagine you have such a powerful weapon close to you. How will you feel? If someone would come before, if someone would go and tell the Brahmana some harsh thing, he would just humbly accept it. But now, if someone would tell anything to the Brahmana, he would show the sword. So now, every day in the morning, as he would get up, he would use his sword to take bath. Mm. He would use his sword to take out the flowers, to cut the fruits, to offer in the grains. This went on day by day after day, day after day. And now, even if someone told him now, he wouldn't just show the sword. He would even use the sword on them. And in this way, he lost all his pious credits. And one day came and Indra came and took back his sword and went. You understood the story? What did Indra do? Nothing. He just kept the sword with him. So this is called as influence of metal energy. So whatever we are surrounded by, it generally has an influence around on us. The sense objects have some sort of influence. So nowadays we all walk around with gadgets, with smartphones. Definitely, how many of us can say we definitely get victimized by the metal energy in the form of a smartphone? Yeah, we all get victimized. Instagram is not the most pious thing. The feed is not the most pious feed, but still we scroll, isn't it? Still one watches YouTube shorts. Still one goes to Facebook, reels or videos. We know it is not the most pious. The most easiest thing would, like, if you ask a person who would wasted his time or who fell victim to something which is adulterated on Instagram or something, if you ask him, why did you do it, he might tell you that I wouldn't have done it if this phone wasn't with me. It's not that I'm hankering for it. No one hankers to lose time, isn't it? For example, sometimes in our we say that today, no, 1 week no sweets now. Then we go for lunch. Now we know today is some feast, and in lunch they are serving rasmalai, rasgulla, gulab jamun, or gulab jamun ice cream. So now we know this is being served. We look at it, but we take other things. And then as we sit, we see the person next to us is also enjoying the sweet. Then the person on the left, he's also enjoying the sweet. And then they're discussing how delicious the sweet is. So one is still thinking, I will not eat today, maybe tomorrow. And as he gets up, going to wash his plate, he thinks maybe half won't hurt, isn't it? And as he takes half, the taste really conquers him. So then he is forced to take more. And then up to his, basically he broke his vow. This is how it happens. You are able to understand victimization by material energy. So these objects around us they have an influence on us. We are not free from that influence. And therefore, we need to spiritualize the objects. Some objects, yeah, spiritualization means what? Whatever we eat, at least we only eat only prasadam. And of course, brahmacharis, even if they break their vow of eating sweet, they eat only sweets offered to Krishna. They will not go and eat in the restaurant, isn't it? Now, if your phone is fully Krishna conscious, even if you're going through some reels, it will be some shiksharthakam reels or some very pious spiritual channel reels. So even though you spend some extra time, it did not really pull down your consciousness because everything is spiritualized. Does that make sense what I'm saying? So therefore, whatever in let me just take out that verse what you were referring to last time. I think it's 424. Yeah. Where is it? I think if I share from here, okay, now can you please repeat this? Brahmarpanam Brahmahavir Brahmagnau Brahmanahutam Brahmaiva Tena Gantavyam Brahma Karma Samadhina. So Brahmarpanam, Brahma Havir, what you're offering becomes spiritual. And Brahma Havir is what the instrument, I think. Brahma Agnau, the fire. Brahmana Hutam. You can see here. See, Havi is the butter. That means that increases the fire. And with Agni, Brahmana, that means the person who is offering. So he's called as Brahmana, by the spirit soul. Hutam, what is offered. What is offered is also by a person who is spiritual in consciousness. And then Brahmeva Tena Gantavyam. That means person who lives a life of sacrifice, spiritual sacrifice. Such a person, he lives happily in this life and even in the next. Why even in the next? Because he quits this world to go to spiritual world, eternal abode. Hmm. Brahmaiva Tena Gantavyam Brahma Karma Samadhina. And therefore, in such work, the work is spiritualized and his consciousness completely absorbed in spiritual subject matter. So Samadhina means complete absorption. See, when we are absorbed, how many of you have been absorbed in something in your life? What are the symptoms of being absorbed?
You don't pay attention to anything else.
Yeah, you become completely oblivious to what is happening around you. Okay, thank you.
You won't have the time.
You won't notice time. You look at your clock, 3 hours have passed by, isn't it?
Forget to eat.
You forget to eat, yes. You overcome bodily platform to some degree. No, you will not feel stress when you're absorbed with work. No, that's the characteristic of absorption. If you are feeling stress or anything that's pulling down, that's actually distracting or breaking your absorption. Some people, when they code, you have done coding? Anyone here? Okay, coding. So when you're coding, sometimes you sit, and when you really get into it,
Yeah, it's like
yes. But if you're being bogged down by some sort of a deadline, then it breaks absorption. But sometimes when there's no deadline, just you can just sit on coding. And yeah, and sometimes when you sit for coding, even material activity, when you have absorption material activity, you can do it for hours, isn't it? Yeah. So what to talk about spiritual activity? The problem today is when we perform our spiritual activity, there is no absorption on account of reducing attention span. What attention span today is for is an on an isn't it? Therefore, we repeat. So in such a if material activity absorption material activity can actually give some taste to do a certain activity for continuous amount of time, what to talk about spiritual activity? And that is called a samadhi. Samadhi means what? 25 minutes 28 seconds by definition. 25 minutes 28 seconds you are completely absorbed. That's samadhi. If you can be absorbed for 25 minutes 28 seconds, then you you are just absorbed further on. You won't get distracted. Dharana, dhyana, samadhi. Dharana means you are absorbed for 12 seconds. Just 12 seconds. Even when you're chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra, you're saying Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Oh, my job, you know. Or tomorrow there's an interview. Already distracted. No, we don't. I mean, you'll be shocked. Many of us don't even hear the Mahamantra when we're chanting. It might seem that we are. Actually, we're not. We're not at all doing it. Why? Because the fruit of proper chanting is there is taste. When we chant properly, we want to chant more. And therefore, Srila Prabhupada said, why just 16? Why not 16,000 rounds? That means the mood. The mood is, why not 16,000? Why not more? Why just whatever committed, one or two? Why just two? Isn't it? Something that gives you eternal benefit, why only do so less? That's the point. Why? Why people don't get the taste? Because they don't do it properly. So when something is not done properly, we usual tendency is to blame that thing, isn't it? Say a student who goes to school, he doesn't study properly. Whom does he blame? Teachers. He blames the school. He blames the subjects. He blames the friends who are distracting him. Everyone has a problem except him. So this is the general tendency. So therefore, here what is being mentioned is whatever spiritual practice is being performed, if you really want to harness the, you can say, the taste, or if you really want to be absorbed in spiritual activity, it has to be done with utmost attention. Nowadays it's a fashion, driving and chanting, yeah, or biking and chanting, running and chanting, watching TV and chanting. These type of chant, this is not meditation, by the way. This is, you can call yourself pious by these activities, no problem. But this is not meditation. Yes.
But why is it like whenever we're trying to do something that's spiritual or towards the God, we have to force our mind and do it? Whereas if I want to enjoy the material world, I can just be like, okay, I'll enjoy and I can sit there 3 hours, watch a movie, and my mind won't be
Really,
distracted.
you absorb fully in your movie, or do some other thoughts also come?
If I really like this, I don't usually watch movies, but if I really like the subject, I can watch for 3 hours and I won't be distracted. Whereas if I want to do something on the
There are
spiritual
two
path, I
things.
won't be
One
able
thing
to.
is sometimes we don't observe our distractions. Second thing is, yes, to try to enjoy in this world is has become something which is natural, but it is a disease. That means for a person afflicted with jaundice, if you give him sugarcane, he will say it is bitter. So he is saying, yeah, it is bitter. But is sugarcane bitter? No. Actually, sugarcane is not bitter, but for jaundice afflicted person is bitter. So similarly, though for him it seems very unnatural to eat sugarcane because it's so bitter. Similarly, when we are materially diseased, I mean sorry, spiritually diseased, That means we have a enjoying tendency. We want to enjoy separate. When Srila Prabhupada came to the United States, he came to the city, saw all the tall skyscrapers, and he had tears in his eyes. The disciples thought probably Prabhupada also has some appreciation, and they asked Prabhupada, what do you think of our cities? He said, I only feel pity for them because people are living in this apartments, like people living in matchboxes, small matchbox. If you see, so therefore, you see the saintly person's attraction is elsewhere. You give time to a saintly person, he will chant Hare Krishna. You give time to a materialistic person, he will try to lord over the material nature. He's just trying to become the boss. Saintly person is trying to become das. Big difference, isn't it? This is because of the spiritual disease. So initially, we have to force ourselves. Krishna says, Indriyani, how does it start? What is that? No. In the same context, Krishna says, therefore, the lust can be first of all curtailed by control of senses. Niyamya Bharatarishava. Not that one. That's different. Correct. Yeah, good try. Something to do with Indriyani. Tasmatvam Indriyani Ado Niyamya Bharatarishava. Therefore, Arjuna, Tasmatvam, therefore, you have to control your senses. Material disease means not naturally the senses go towards sense object. So therefore, block it. Yeah. When the senses naturally go towards Krishna consciousness, you don't have to do anything with the senses. Does that make sense? So therefore, we were talking about spiritual absorption. So when we can develop the spiritual absorption, how can we develop absorption? Recently, I was speaking in one class, so let me show you one note. Actually, when I share my screen on Zoom, this is sure gets a different problem. Okay, I'll show you. Is this the one? Okay, you can see this. He's making this. Is actually stuck here. Am I audible online?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu. Okay, so he's just getting stuck here. Okay. Should I wait? Anyway, so we were discussing that when we really really study the subject matter. So now this his internet is problem or his internet? No? Okay. As long as online people can hear, it's fine. Okay, so we were just discussing when we really understand the subject matter. Can you make it sideways? Okay, and just you can minimize my. Okay, thank you. Okay, so when we study the spiritual subject matter, the Gita, Bhagavatam, with analysis and application, that means you really break down, go deep. Why are these characters mentioned in the scriptures acting in a certain way in certain situations? You really go deep, compare different characters. It's called analysis and application. It leads to relevance. Relevance means you get to learn from them, isn't it? You get to learn from, for example, say Arjuna in the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Now Arjuna is showing compassion for his family members, his own relatives, which is similar to us. Sometimes in the face of duty, we also have weakness of heart, especially when we have to go against our material attachment. Am I understandable? I'm seeing some blank faces. Yeah, am I understandable?
Yes.
Yeah. So for Arjuna, when he had to perform his duty, there was some obstacle. Similarly, in our life also, when we are in face of duty, there will be obstacles. Especially because we are attached to something which has to get cut down. Then what did Arjuna do? Was it possible for Arjuna to solve his problem on his own? No. What did he do? Surrender to Krishna. That means material problem, spiritual solution. Yeah. So now in our life, reflect in your own life. Now when I'm undergoing a problem, I'm trying my best, it's not working out. Material problem. You need,
Surrender to Krishna.
yes, surrender to Krishna, spiritual solution. What solved Arjuna's doubts? Gita, Bhagavad Gita. Similarly, we have to hear the Gita instructions. You're able to understand? So when we correlate and match and see how the characters in the scriptures is actually very similar to our own lives or our own situations, then it creates relevance. Then you really want to know what did Krishna say because of which Arjuna was ready to pick up his bow and fight, isn't it? Now you really want to know. Because relevance is created, there is, what's the next one? Interest. Then there is interest in scriptures. Then there is interest in wisdom. Without this interest, I may speak for hours and you might hear somehow for hours. But next class, when something is asked, you will not be able to answer. Because it is not heard with interest or eagerness. It's not heard with that. It is just heard, sometimes in India, some bhashan is going on in temple, and you go with your parents to temple, and your mommy, papa will tell you, let's sit here. And you ask, why to sit? We have other things to do. They'll say, when you go to temple, you have to sit for some time. Isn't it? Then it will become like that. Every Sunday you have to come, sit for some time. Prasad, jao. It's called mechanical, being mechanical. So when we are mechanical, then there's no transformation of heart. So therefore, first we study the scriptures, we are hearing from the Bhagavad Gita, we really need to dissect and understand what are these things going on, and try to match the situations, analyze. Then it creates relevance because it's applicable to you. With relevance, now you're hearing it with interest. And when it is heard with interest, it creates absorption. And when there is absorption, you can hear for hours. That is called as generates a taste. But therefore, it has to be done with proper mood. When there is taste, you will do better study. Again, cycle, proper study. Then when you do further proper study, you get further relevant ideas. And then further interest is generated, further absorption, further taste, further study. So in this way, we can actually go very deep into study of the Bhagavad Gita. Only then, what we are discussing, fourth chapter, transcendental knowledge, then these things will become relevant. What we are saying, cutting down material attachment and this and that. Mm. So, yeah.
You said cutting down material attachment is an important aspect if you want to grow spiritually, right? But if you look at different positions made in this world, they all are created by God Himself. And even if it's said like He only taught us that you could even go to position of Brahma or be Indra in some universe. So those all positions are also meant for us to conquer. So that is a material desire,
There are positions meant for us to conquer.
like to be there. Like if I decide I want to be Brahma in my next
You
birth,
can.
I can. So but I have a desire for that. That's a material
Right.
desire. But if a position is created, so God wants us to desire for it, right?
No, God doesn't want you to desire. God has His desire. Why God has? I mean, if if you say everything which is available in this world that is desire of God, that means Arjuna didn't have to ask Krishna anything. Because everything is available.
But even
The way the possibility that Arjuna can withdraw from the battle, that means Krishna wants him to go back, right? Because otherwise, why would there be an option to drop the Gandiva?
but even Krishna made Arjun fight for land.
Arjuna fight for land?
Like the basic point of fighting the Mahabharata happened because of land itself. They asked for even five villages, or they
Hmm.
said we won't be giving that.
So what was the reason for the war?
It was like material reason. Like, that land is the reason.
Really? I think you have to make notes in classes. It's because Dhritarashtra was not. Dhritarashtra wanted, no, Duryodhan wanted to see the Pandavas completely destroyed.
But they could have ran, go somewhere else.
when Duryodhana is not ready to give anything, you want Kshatriyas like Pandavas to live in the forest? Say you say, okay, ठीक है, Pandavas, crores of people died on the battlefield. Pandavas could have lived in the forest and sacrificed their lives so that battle wouldn't have taken place. If when even though battle wouldn't have taken place, what would the conditions of the citizens be in kingdom under Duryodhana's rule?
Arjun wants more,
Need to be disrobed. Would you like to be in such a society?
but if he's out of
No,
the
yes or
society,
no?
if I'm at the power position, why not?
Why not?
Why not?
I mean, like if you have the controlling power, then
Okay.
there is no you won't be suffering in the society itself. Not all like people in a society would suffer if there is a bad dictator or something. There are certain people who get certain privileges.
Why did Bhumi in the form of cow go to Brahma to approach Vishnu to descend in this world in the beginning? That's the reason for Krishna
But
avatar.
if I look at from a third's eye perspective, like I don't want to from a bird's eye view, like
No, if you have to understand what I'm trying to say. Hmm. I'm asking you, if when the demons or demoniac minded people rule this world, if there is no problem, why did Bhumi go to Brahma seeking for help? And that's when Vishnu said, "Don't worry, now Krishna will come." Why did it happen? Because what is the meaning of demoniac minded? You have to study the 16th chapter of the Gita. It's called Daivi Asura Sampad Vibhaga Yoga. That means it distinguishes only if text 1, text 2 talks about the divine qualities. Remaining verses, how much is it? I think another 26 verses. They all talk about the qualities of the demoniac minded. Why? Only 2 for divine and 26 for demoniac minded. You able to understand? So these qualities Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna. When people with these qualities rule this world, what happens? They exploit material nature. When they exploit material nature, that means the civilization is becoming predominantly godless. Then the resources are immediately withdrawn from material nature. That means today, if you want to have some nice food, you're basically eating all artificial. There's some sort of chemical in them. We don't even get proper food. Why? Godless civilization, Duryodhana's rule. When the devotees rule, when there is dharma, that time you will eat fresh food. Just even talk about food, isn't it? Why? Because Krishna explains in the third chapter that the devotees or the people who are well aware of how this world works, they understand that we and the demigods, we and Krishna, there's symbiotic mutual relationship with nature. We cannot go against nature. Today, people are pushing land, pushing the ocean, creating further land. There's a this thing, no? For they want to extend Manhattan. You've heard about it? They want to extend Manhattan just so that they can have more skyscrapers for more sense enjoyment. You have enough land everywhere. Most of part of the New Jersey is all forest. No one is looking at that land. They just want to extend, pushing. So when they go dive deep into the ocean, extract oil, when they push ocean water back and bring out land, when they cut for forests, deforestation, and they build human civilization there, then there's always some other trouble. As soon as you meddle with material nature, there's trouble. Animals have no trouble because they don't meddle with material nature. Humans are the ones. One ecologist had made a statement. He said the entire ecosystem would have been in a perfect balance if you remove one species from that, the human beings. Isn't it? Why? Because the demoniac minded people, they want to exploit material nature, and by exploiting material nature for their sense enjoyment, they are actually, the material nature withdraws all the resources, and when the material nature withdraws resources, there is suffering. Why do you think there are floods? People say, no, why is God doing bad things to good people? How many floods do you hear in Vedic times, in Pandavas time? Some flood came in Hastinapur. No, you don't hear. It is generally in these times because in nowadays people are becoming highly godless. And not just that, now you people have make a big thing, no, about rape cases. There was Delhi, then Hyderabad, Kolkata. It's a big thing. This is what demoniac, and this is when you have some Hindu, pro-Hindu prime minister. Otherwise, now the famous thing going on is the laddu, Tirupati laddu with you know, yeah, beef oil, fish oil, and all that. Because the previous whoever was in charge, it is said the previous in charge was transferring the funds from Tirupati Balaji to churches in Andhra. Hmm. So you see, sometimes what happens, even though nowadays you have a pro-Hindu leader, still you can see the rape cases happening. In time of Yudhishthir, when he was the king, the law was, even if a cow is crying, something happens to the cow, there would be a big bell in the city. The cow can come and ring the bell to say that she is in misery. And if at all anything happens to any of the resident, that means the king is not pious. This is the meaning. So everyone from animals to humans to everyone is out of peace of mind. There's no peace of mind like today's society. Why? There's no proper food to eat, no proper shelter. Even if you give them shelter, they don't want home. They want to live like vagabonds. There's so much of adulteration in the society in all terms. Why? Because demoniac class people go to institution and say we want to teach Bhagavad Gita. They say we don't want Bhagavad Gita. But all of them can come together. They have in companies, they have a happy hour on Friday evenings. Yeah? In colleges they have. Yeah, but you tell about Bhagavad Gita, they don't want to hear. This is equal to somewhere Atala Sutala Tala Tala Vitala, hellish planets. It's like this only. Hmm. So therefore, when you have Duryodhana's rule, it's not just matter of land. If Krishna wanted, see, you think in Kurukshetra battlefield, how big do you think Kurukshetra battlefield was? Today's Hastinapur, Delhi, how big is Delhi? 64 crores of people were there. This is in the battlefield, not in the city of Hastinapur. In the battlefield of Kurukshetra, 64 crores of people were there. So how can you fit so many people in just one battlefield? What Krishna does is inconceivable. Krishna can expand in a way you don't even know. And when Krishna wanted Dwarka to go away, the whole land sank away. So you think for Krishna he cannot give some land to his devotees? Yeah, you think like that? He can give, no? So this is not a battle of for land. That may be some battle of Panipat or something. Battle of Kurukshetra is something much more. Dharma samstharpanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. To establish dharma. That was the whole war. It's not just for Krishna to take away land and give to Pandava is not a big thing. Is that clear?
Yes, so what is our purpose? We have to establish dharma or no? Like, or we could be like, okay, things are happening, we could just chant and go back to Godhead, or we have to fight as well.
Okay, I think that is taking a wide tangent from today's subject matter. So, what we were discussing is, you see, till now what we have discussed is to have spiritual absorption, we need a proper practice, isn't it? Practice. And so, therefore, we were saying that even when we study the scriptures, when we are hearing classes, we need to study with intention. What I'm teaching is, if what I'm teaching is not helping you in your personal life, then it's not a very helpful teaching. So, and you have all the right to ask me. You can stop me anywhere and say, Prabhu, you're teaching me this, but how is it even relevant to my life? You can ask me. Because without relevance, the whole study is useless. Any subject matter, it will become like the subject you hated the most in your school. Yeah, no relevance. Some people say, why am I studying biology? I anyway want to be a computer science engineer. But biology is compulsory. So they get the poorest grade in that. So we don't want to study Bhagavad Gita like that. We are studying Gita because it's the most relevant. And that you'll understand how it's most relevant when you consciously apply the brain and the mind to it. If we don't do that, then this will just remain another subject matter, just like that. Does that make sense? Yeah. So therefore, we need to develop absorption and of course taste. That happens by proper practice of any spiritual activity, whether chanting or reading, anything it may be. Mhm. So in the verse in that Brahma, yes.
If say one is absorbed and still there could be distractions that are not from day to day. So what kind of they could be and how one can deal with
Your question is if we are trying to be absorbed and there are distractions which are not regular distractions, somewhere out of the common distraction. For example, once a semester you have exam. Sometimes chanting might become difficult during exams, or say for you some guest comes, mm, and it's your friend from childhood, but she's not really Krishna conscious, and she says, "Let's go for a mall and this and that." Or you're saying that I have to chant and I have to go to temple today Sunday, isn't it? So it is not a regular distraction; it is out of the common distraction. So then, what was the next question? How do we
So,
deal with that?
no, it's like people say you get, if you start chanting or you get too much into meditation or something, you get all the opulences and like also the discipline kind of things. So I don't want to
Hmm,
get into it,
correct.
but
Those okay.
so like uh, even I've heard in many of the videos like Bhakti Mother Thakur used to be able to see the future.
Hmm,
So, but our goal is to focus on chanting.
correct.
Like,
The very high level question. You are looking for pure devotional service. Basically, her question is when we're chanting Hare Krishna, you also get other side benefits. Mhm. Say, for example, now you might become very smart. You might become very charismatic because the tejas, all like Prabhupada would say. Some pastors would go to Prabhupada and say, what is your process, because your disciples are looking very bright faced, they would say, because everyone is chanting Hare Krishna, they are cleansing their mind, they look very attractive. So sometimes you get name, fame, and many other things when you chant. So how do we keep the focus as Krishna, not get distracted by other siddhis and everything? When we perform yajna, and that's why it's mentioned as Brahma Karma Samadhina. When we perform yajna with, sorry, let me show you verse. Mm. With the goal as Krishna. So that time we should make sure we don't forget the goal. Sometimes people come to college for studies. Now, when they come to college for studies, they get distracted sometimes by so many club activities. They're into Rotaract Club, Debating Society, Music Club, Dance Club, Football Club, Athletic Club. So many club. Except studies, they are into all clubs. Say now they excel in the club activities. Only problem is they are failing in the subjects. Is it the success of going to college? But they became the best in their club. Doesn't matter. It's called extracurricular. Therefore, extra is used. The word extra. That means beyond your general, what is actually the main thing. So the purpose of the semester is to pass your end semester exam. Similarly, can you just keep the phone with you? Oh, it's connected to the. Yeah. So the purpose of semester is to pass the end semester exam. Similarly, the purpose of spiritual activity is to attain love for Krishna. So as you're proceeding ahead, Krishna tests the devotees. Okay, take some name and fame. Now, if the devotees, if he says, "Oh wow, name and fame, I was always looking for it, I never got it before," and he gets distracted, okay, then finished. Why does he get distracted? Because he goes after it. So, if the goal is clear that Krishna is the goal, then one can say, no, no, because Krishna is the goal, let me keep it aside. Let whatever test come, whatever side benefits come, but I will not heed to it. So, therefore, how do we keep Krishna in the center? Regularly, we read Bhagavad Gita. Daily, we chant Hare Krishna. Daily, we associate with the devotees. And daily we don't do that, we get carried away by so many things. Make sense? Yeah. Yes.
Guru, how does
Prabhu.
the taste still develop if it's in our nature for the absorption to be confused?
Can you please repeat?
You said so. You said that it's in the material nature for the absorption to be broken. You're regularly distracted by things.
Okay.
So, how does the taste still develop even though we are so
Okay.
susceptible to that?
Right. So we have to try our best to make our spiritual practice strong. That means it has to be done without distraction. Therefore, the scriptures say, Brahma Muhurta, one should get up early and chant, because the materialists are not awake at that time. Those people who can pull your consciousness down, they won't be awake. Hmm? Or they might be going to bed at that time, early in the morning. Yani Isha Sarva just quit the Zoom, go to Veda base. They won't be able to see my screen, that's fine. I don't know if I'll share anything else. But just open Veda base.
Prabhu, I have a question.
Yeah, I'll just complete the answer. That doesn't make sense. So therefore, there are certain things how our teachers, spiritual teachers, have put it. We chant early in the morning, because early in the morning is more of goodness, and second is there's no distraction by the materialists, and therefore, and everything is pin drop silence, and you can just hear your chanting with great focus. Mind is fully awake. People say, no, if you want to really study something nicely, study in the early morning hours. Your mind is in absorbing mood. And in the daytime, mind is in throwing out mode. Mm, like that. Or actually, it is how it is. um, the moon has effect on the waves. You know that? Mm. What is it called? Tidal effect, something like that. Okay. So moon has effect on the waves, and according to astrology, moon has effect on the mind. So there's a connection. So if you go to the beach at early morning hours or late night hours, you will see the mind is actually the waves. The waves are actually throwing out substances. Whatever was inside the wave in the waters, say all the debris and some can and plastic, everything is being thrown out on the sand. That's how our mind behaves in the early morning hours. That means mind is ready to get purified in the early morning hours. Whereas in the daytime, the waves are observed to be taking in stuff. And that's how our mind also behaves. In the daytime, our mind takes away everything. Whatever is given, it keeps absorbing from our surrounding. So therefore, in the early morning hours, purification of mind is, it's like a 2x speed, or you can even say 10x speed. But daytime is very difficult. I think you might have some experience. You try to chant in daytime, someone will disturb you for something, isn't it? So therefore, if we make our sadhana very strong, say you want to do some reading of the Bhagavad Gita Prabhupada's books, you find some space where no one can catch you, and you can put your phone in airplane mode and just get yourself absorbed, and put a timer, and don't look at your phone until the timer beeps for 1 hour. Similarly, for chanting, find a place which is where no one can disturb you, which is filled with spiritual objects and vibrations, spiritual vibrations, and where you have some good facility for sitting, good where you can breathe, you're not suffocating in a room, so that material factors are settled, so you can have spiritual absorption. So when you take care of this, yeah, okay, thanks. So yeah, so this is what we were discussing about, and someone had a question online. Hare Krishna.
Yes, I was having a question. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Uh, so my question is like whenever I try to do meditation,
Yeah.
uh, before I was chanting just one word like Om,
Yeah.
and I was going deep into it for 10 to 15 minutes, and then like from few days I'm just trying to do Hare Krishna or Hare Krishna, Hare Rama Mahamantra, but uh, it feels like it's very long for me to meditate or chant. So I want to know that how could we meditate? Do we need to speak it or just feel the vibrations of the mantra?
Okay. So, thank you for the question. Just for a general principle, meditation is done in mode of goodness. Mm. Meditation cannot be rushed. Some people say, okay, I only have 10 minutes and I have 2 rounds remaining, so 2 rounds only take 15 minutes, but I only have 10 minutes. So what are you supposed to do? Just rush through the Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna. So this is not meditation. Mm. So a very fact that you're saying, I feel Mahamantra is too long and Om is very small. That means it is the passion is little more. That means you're trying to rush through it. Actually, Hare Krishna Mahamantra addresses the personality of Godhead, Krishna. Om only addresses the Brahman effulgence that emanates from Krishna's spiritual body. Whereas Krishna is directly Krishna. Om, God knows who it is. Isn't it? It's just impersonal. Microsoft, who is it? Bill Gates, okay, the founder of Microsoft. So when you say Om, it's like calling Microsoft. Whom are you calling? No, I'm calling Microsoft, but who in Microsoft? Like you call their phone number, they'll ask you, whom do you want to talk to? You'll say, no, I just called Microsoft. Yeah, but whom do you want to talk to in Microsoft? Yeah, but if you say I want to talk to Bill Gates, that's Hare Krishna mantra. So when we to chant Hare Krishna mantra, we have to develop. We need to have a lifestyle that is mostly predominantly mode of goodness. That means the time we eat, time we sleep, when do we get up, what type of activities we engage in, all this actually constitutes mode of goodness. Then chanting becomes very easy. And I would say to start chanting Hare Krishna, you always need association of devotees. Alone chanting is a big stunt. Mm. That is very difficult. It's
Okay.
not easy. So where do you stay?
New Jersey, Jersey City.
Jersey City. Okay, we are very fortunate that we have programs every Saturday in Jersey City. So maybe I
Yeah.
will connect you with Arshab, who goes there, or Shri Gopal Pran Prabhu,
Okay.
and your name is Alay, no? If maybe you can leave a phone number or something, so I can reach out to
Yeah.
you. And you connect with them.
Sure.
They're having like this programs every Saturday there, and they'll be very helpful for you. By association, things become very easy. Sange Shakti Kali
Okay.
Yuge. That means in Kali Yuga, you want to achieve anything, you need a
Mm.
sangha. Therefore, everything you have a sangha.
Okay.
Mm. Okay, that's okay.
All right. Thank you.
Okay,
Yep. I leave my number in the chat.
okay. Thank you. You are correct. You can just note down. Mm. So, is this clear what we have discussed? And I just wanted to touch upon this concept of jnana and vijnana. Jnana means knowledge, and vijnana means realized knowledge. Level one or step one is called as shravanam. That's a common word. Shravanam means we hear. Second word is called as mananam. Mananam means ruminating on that knowledge. Okay, today what did I hear? Say this Prabhu was saying this and this point. How does it apply to me? Was a preaching application, a personal application? How can I? Haribo? Thank you. Why are you giving notice? I think he's making all of you feel secure. Yeah, so mananam is ruminating on the knowledge which we hear. If you hear something and not think about it, it's you don't have that knowledge. Does that make sense? You hear something, you gain some knowledge, or you read your textbook. Whatever you read, you don't study it, or you don't think about it, you don't go deep into it, you have already lost it. Is no more your asset. But if say you say today we are talking about absorption, spiritual absorption, Brahma Karma Samadhina. When you talk about when we're talking about Brahma Karma Samadhina, say all of you go for prasadam and you're discussing, today Arjun was saying this, and yeah, I felt in my life I've seen this happening, and you guys are discussing examples and some case studies and your personal examples with respect to what was discussed. Next time when I ask you what did you understand last time, you can immediately tell me like this. Why? Because you've actually got the knowledge. But that means theoretical knowledge is not knowledge. Yeah, that makes sense. Theoretical knowledge is not actually knowledge. You have to convert theoretical knowledge into realization, conviction. It has to lead to something. So once His Holiness Tamal Krishna Maharaj, one of Sannyasi Prabhupada disciples, he went to an Indian man and he said, "Do you want a copy of the Gita?" The person said, "I've already studied the Gita." Tamal Krishna Maharaj asked, "What next?" He said, "What do you mean, what next? I've already studied the Gita." He said, "Okay, what next?" He said, "What do you mean, what next? I've already studied it." Then Tamal Krishna Maharaj said, "What are you doing about it?" ठीक है पढ़ लिए 700 verses. What do you do about it? How did it help you? How are you applying it? What is the effect it has on you on your life, and how are you using that knowledge of the Gita to serve? What are you doing about it? This is what Tamal Krishna Maharaj said. This is what he meant. What next? When Arjuna heard the Gita, what next? He picked up the Gandiva. He gave up weakness of heart. He fought for dharma, isn't it? Not that he heard Bhagavad Gita, oh, surrender to Krishna. Huh? Very nice. So now you fight Krishna. This is not surrender. He actually picked up. So there is, so knowledge leads to action. Just hearing knowledge is not knowledge, theoretical knowledge. So therefore, first one is Shravanam. Second one is Mananam, where we contemplate and discuss and basically are chewing on that knowledge. And third step is the result called as Nidhi Dhyasanam. Nidhi Dhyasanam is, they are the realizations that you get, the convictions in the heart. So therefore, all three things have to happen. Then you can really get absorbed in the spiritual knowledge. Then Jnana becomes Vijnana. So therefore, in the Vedic times, you will find so many examples of so many Vedic kings. King Parikshit. King Parikshit once saw a cow which was being hurt and a bull whose three legs were broken and one Kaliraj standing next. So immediately he went and took out the sword. But before he could attack the Kaliraj, he asked the bull, who was actually Dharma. And how did Parikshit know it was actually Dharma? He asked the bull, "Who did this to you?" Now imagine, say, a person is wounded, some blood stain on his head, and he's holding his head, and next to him is someone is standing with a baseball bat. Now you're going to ask, will you go and ask him who did this to you? No, you will just first of all catch him, isn't it? Later on, just to verify, you might ask, but it's clear who did this. So Parikshit went and asked. According to Parikshit, it was very clear who did it. So he went and asked the bull, "Who did this to you?" And the bull said, "If I point to the perpetrator, I become as sinful as the perpetrator." And hearing these words, Parikshit understood this is none other than Dharma the bull, because he knows Dharma in such detail, isn't it? And the bull said, "You understand for yourself, but I cannot tell you who the perpetrator is." Someone is harming you, police comes and asks, who did this to you? Will you say, "You understand by yourself"? Who is doing this to me? I cannot point out. No. And why did Dharma not point out? Because he said that everything in this world, all suffering understood. That this is Dharma the bull. And later on, Parikshit, of course, he takes Kali into this thing custody and he threatens Kali. And Kali says, "See, I am your praja. I am also your praja. Just like human beings are praja, animals also praja, and Kaliraj is also praja. So it's your right to protect me." And anyway, the opera is over. Now my time has come. So give me some place to stay. Kali said, okay, any place where there is regulative principles being broken, meat eating, illicit sex, intoxication, gambling of any sort, there you go. Kaliraj said, wonderful. Now he went throughout the kingdom of Parikshit. Unfortunately, he could not find any place where there was meat eating going on, illicit sex going on, intoxication, or gambling going on. Then he came back to Parikshit and he said, "You give me four places to stay, but these places don't exist. So you give me some other place to stay." And that time Parikshit said, "Wherever there is too much hoarding of gold, you can stay there." That's why we find brother fight, father son fight for property. Why Kaliraj goes? Kaliraj means two things: quarrel and hypocrisy. As soon as there is gambling, quarrel, hypocrisy. As soon as there's meat eating, there'll be quarrel, hypocrisy. Quarrel means they can even be violence towards other living entities. Illicit sex, there'll be quarrel, hypocrisy. Intoxication, there'll be quarrel, hypocrisy. Gold, too much of hoarding of all these things, that's quarrel, hypocrisy. So you will find Parikshit, he is a king, but he was a pious, not pious, he was spiritually minded king. Completely Krishna conscious king. But is he simply sitting and chanting Hare Krishna? That's all he does? No. What is he doing? He's actively taking care of his kingdom. You agree? Yeah. He's making decisions. He is enforcing law and order. This is Krishna consciousness. Therefore, Prabhupada would say bhakti. If you read his books, Prabhupada never says bhakti means devotion. Many boys come, they say, Prabhuji, today Radha Krishna dressed so beautifully. Today, I will do anything for them. I say, you can do anything. Can you chant one round daily? That they say, Prabhu, I'm always chanting in my mind. Isn't it? They're always chanting, we don't count. We only count what you do it on the beads. For that or no, you have to count your rounds. Isn't it? Do you say, let my company give any salary? Anything is acceptable. I never count my money. Do you say that? No. Anything which is important, you count. Isn't it? So if it's money, we count. Say your friend is going to give you some gold coins, you will count it. Number of gifts on your birthday, you will count. Isn't it? How many people came for your birthday party, you will count. Who all came, who didn't come. But chanting Hare Krishna, always going on the mind. So that means hypocrisy. Isn't it? So therefore, Prabhupada would say bhakti in his books, he writes bhakti as devotional service. One word translated as two words. Bhakti is devotional service. That means, okay, you have devotion, but what are you doing about it? What next? Isn't it? You quantify your devotion through action. It's not just a sentiment. So, I'm saying this because in the Vedic times, the practitioners of Krishna consciousness, whether be it Arjuna or Parikshit Maharaj or Ambrish Maharaj or the Pandavas, anyone who practiced Krishna consciousness, they engage themselves in complete active devotional service. That means they were doing something for Krishna. So we should ask, okay, what am I doing for Krishna? I say I'm a big devotee. Okay, at least let me chant some rounds daily. If I have not started, let me at least chant one round daily. If I'm doing just one, okay, 2 rounds. If only two, 4 rounds. Our principle is only doubling. 4 means 8, 8 means 16. After 16, you can improve the quality of your rounds. Because the knowledge which we are going ahead from here, actually even from the after second chapter onwards, is all deeper knowledge. The very fact that sometimes I feel no one gives any response to the previous sessions points. Sometimes what happens is it becomes a bouncer. You have seen in cricket what is a bouncer. Sometimes the ball hits the pitch and it comes to his face, then he has to duck. I mean, it goes above him. Similarly, the knowledge also comes on the pitch and hits in the instead of head, he ducks and it goes above. So knowledge should not go above; it should go inside, isn't it? For that, we need proper practice. So, with knowledge, there has to be some practice. That's my point. You want that knowledge to turn into some substance, you need to convert it to substance through some practice. chanting of Hare Krishna is the main primary practice. Actually, I had plan of chanting 2 rounds, making everyone in circles and chanting 2 rounds. At least I think we can do one, isn't it? Oh, yeah, we got beads or no? There are no beads. Okay, maybe next time we will do that. Next week we will actually perform because we are talking about yajna. We will perform yajna. Krishna says 5 minutes because Krishna in the Gita says yajna nam japa yajñosmi. Of all the different types of yajnas, I am japa yajna. So maybe next week we will do. We'll get some beads. Someone devotees being. Yeah. So this is other thing I wanted to talk about, that so whatever spiritual practice you really want to see substance, we have to quantify it with some action. So till now what we have completed is up to verse number 29, 30. Okay, 30, which says the result of performing yajna. We will wind up just going through 3 verses. hmm, The result of yajna. We'll just read through it. And it is verse 30 onwards. Can you please repeat after me? 30. सर्वेऽप्येते यज्ञविदो यज्ञक्षपितकल्मषा यज्ञशिष्टा अमृतभुजो यान्ति ब्रह्म सनातनम्. Yeah, can one of you read translation?
All these performers who get the meaning of sacrifice become cleansed of sinful reactions, and having tasted the nature of the results of sacrifices, they advance towards the supreme eternal happiness.
Yeah, all these performers who know the meaning of sacrifice. So one more portion which we can discuss little more in this thing detail next time is about the consciousness. See, any sacrifice is not spiritual sacrifice. Prabhuji, today, yesterday I had exam. For that, I gave up watching movie for 1 week. It's good, and you got something for it, but it's called as karma kanda, sacrifice. You did something to get a material fruit. Nothing spiritual about it. That means it also matters when you do sacrifice. With what consciousness are you doing? That means why are you doing it? For what purpose? Yeah.
So does that mean sacrifice in of itself does not have a connotation of being painful? When you say what consciousness enables that sacrifice, what I'm trying to say is basically people say that, oh, I'm sacrificing this. They come from a painful standpoint. So when you say what consciousness is, because it depends on
No, even on spiritual platform, there will be some. We have a saying, give till it hurts you. You know, like some people give a donation, $5. For them, $5 is peanut, so they give peanuts. If you can give $100, give $100 till it hurts. That is sacrifice.
So it has to be painful.
It has to be painful. I mean, it's not
Hurt is painful, right?
right, but painful is not emphasized here. Or to talk about spiritual world. In the spiritual realm, you have to give up to go up. Yeah, that is nature of sacrifice. But you give up something to get something. But if what do you want to get? If you want to get only material fruit, it is just material. Nothing special about it.
That's what I'm saying. So the consciousness can be happy also. Okay, it's fine. I'm sacrificing. It's for the better.
Right. So consciousness here is referring to with what purpose? Why are you doing it?
Like what's the upside of it?
Yeah. That means okay. Let me do the sacrifice for pleasing devotees. Like one devotee donated to sponsor the MYF monthly youth festival feast. So that's a sacrifice. But his consciousness was, he can have multiple type of consciousness. If he's thinking, let me donate some money and let my name be, so that's not a very spiritual purpose, though the function was for a spiritual thing. What was it was used for? But consciousness, is it spiritual? No, name and fame. That's all. But someone is thinking, let me sponsor and feed the Vaishnavas because Vaishnavas are pleased, Krishna is pleased. By that, I can get some mercy. Like that, that is spiritual consciousness. So then you are able to understand with what purpose they do the yajna. That is also important. So therefore, in the Brahmagautam, that verse, everything has to become spiritual. The consciousness with which we perform the activity has to be spiritual. Only then, I'm using say iPhone for this Gita class. Now, if my consciousness itself is not spiritual, then the whole offering is spoiled. That means iPhone remained material only. That means I can still get victimized by iPhone material energy. Yeah, yeah,
So with that yajna is based on karma kanda, not on bhakti level.
yeah.
So does bhav count or
Does bhav
because in bhakti we there's a importance of bhav, the feeling,
feeling?
sincerity. But in karma kanda it's basically the actions.
Yeah, actually, feeling is not so much of useful. It's so much of use because people keep having feelings. Yeah, people will is according to something you just feel according to some मौसम भी होता है ना, some according to certain seasons also you feel more. If some seasons you feel less, some seasons you feel more. So these things are not really, you cannot count on them basically. Mm. What we count is some strong factors. Something that is tangible factors, like, yeah, okay, why are you doing an activity? Yes, to please the devotees. Mm. Or if someone is saying, why are you doing this activity? Just so I can get some name and fame. Simple. Whatever bhava one may have, the purpose for which it is done, that's what is there. That's what counts. That makes sense. Okay. Okay, in this verse Krishna is saying, when we perform such yajnas, brahma yajna, what happens? We get cleansed of sinful reactions, and then we advance towards spiritual world. And next he's saying, Nayam lokasya yajnasya kutonya kuru sattama. Smallest verse in the Bhagavad Gita. 2 lines. O best of the Kuru dynasty, without sacrifice, one can never live happily on this planet or in this life. What then of the next? That means sacrifice is the basis for happy life. Sometimes people don't want to give, but actually, it's by giving we can become happy. We have to give. Sometimes we only give to our family members and say, yeah, I'm giving a lot to my wife. That's not giving, because sometimes we consider our own family members as me only. Prabhupada would call it as extended sense gratification. Yeah, I'm giving so much of money. Every month I send thousands of dollars to my family in India. Yeah, that's not giving. Giving means it has to be giving to Krishna. That is real giving. Hmm. Okay, 30 second. Evam bahuvidha yajna vidata brahmano mukhe कर्मजान विधितान सर्वान एवं ज्ञात्वा विमोक्ष्यसे. Yeah, someone can read. Read goes.
Translation: all these different types of sacrifice are approved by the Vedas, and all of them are born of different types of work. Knowing them as such, you will become liberated.
So, what sacrifices count? Those which are mentioned in the Vedas, not speculated, not that we can concoct a sacrifice. Hmm. The different levels of sacrifice. Sacrifice at this level can take you to next level. Sacrifice at this level can take you to next level. Therefore, last time we were discussing sacrifices performed by different yoga practitioners, isn't it? Yes, no? By brahmacharis, they sacrifice something, grihasthas sacrifice something, the tapasvis, they sacrifice something. They all sacrifice something, but the topmost sacrifice is sacrificing for Krishna consciousness. Yeah.
Sacrifice means concentrating.
Sacrifice means basically you're sacrificing some comfort, or it could be anything. You're basically giving up something to get something. And that means you have a certain goal. Yajna or sacrifice means with the point sacrifices. Okay, next one, last one. श्रेयान् द्रव्यमयाद् यज्ञात् ज्ञानयज्ञ परन्तप सर्वं कर्माखिलं पार्थ ज्ञाने परिसमाप्यते.
Translation: O chastiser of the enemy, the sacrifice performed in knowledge is better than the mere sacrifice of material possession. After all, O son of Partha,
Pratha. Son of Partha is Abhimanyu.
all sacrifices of work culminate in transcendental knowledge.
Yes. So this is very important. Krishna is telling Arjuna, just sacrificing is not very useful. Yeah, last year I went to Tirupati, gave thousands of dollars there. Some of my friends said it will be some good. So I gave it. Useless sacrifice. You should know why you're sacrificing. Why are you giving to Tirupati? Who is Tirupati Balaji? For example, who is Venkateshwara? What is his greatness? And why are you making the sacrifice? With knowledge, when sacrifice is done, it has a better effect than sacrificing just of material positions. Hey, I want a pen, na, take it, le lo. Better than that is you have to have an understanding why you're making the sacrifice. Hmm? So after all, O son of Pritha, all sacrifices of work culminate in transcendental knowledge. That means yajna. When you perform yajna, it results culminates in jnana, transcendental knowledge. Hmm. Why? Because when you perform yajna, it leads to purification of existence. We purify. We purify all the raw materials. We purify our life. Sarve peti yajna vido yajna kshapita kalmashaha. All sinful reactions are gone by performing yajna. So then what happens? Then we get understanding of spiritual knowledge. Sinful people cannot understand spiritual knowledge. Hmm. Very difficult. It requires some level of threshold piety to understand spiritual knowledge. Therefore, we only have like what 2025 here. World New York population is how much? 8 million. Hmm. Very less. Why? Because only not everyone can understand spiritual knowledge. Of course, people can understand prasadam. But gradually, by eating prasadam, they have to increase their piety. Only then these things will become make sense. So therefore, Krishna is saying, you perform yajna, it results in purification of your existence, and then by purification of existence, you can understand spiritual knowledge. So yajna leads to spiritual knowledge. Is that understandable? If yajna doesn't lead to spiritual knowledge, it is not really yajna. Yeah, it is yajna, but material yajna. You sacrifice something to get something, but that will also be lost anyway. So it's useless. But in spiritual yajna, you sacrifice something to get something that is permanent. Does that make sense? Okay. I think prasadam time has come. Okay. So this is it for today. And next time we will talk about how to another process mentioned by Krishna. How to not another process actually how to attain jnana by approaching a guru. Hmm. Very important verse. And results in glories of jnana. Why to develop transcendental knowledge. And 39 to 42, Krishna explains about role of faith in acquiring jnana. That means if you want to gain knowledge, you need faith. Any type of knowledge. That also Krishna explains. Very nice verses. And that's how he concludes. And tasmad jnana sambhutam hitstam jnana sinatmanah chitvainam samshayam yogam atishta uttishta bharata. Therefore rise and fight, cutting all the doubts to pieces. That's how fourth chapter ends, and then we start called as sannyasa yoga. That means action in Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
The
Krishna.
knowledge of the Bhagavad Gita is completely divine. If you guys have 5 minutes of time, you can chant Hare Krishna. Those of you who are not have
Yes.
some time. Yeah, that's okay.
Yes.
Okay.